Hello and welcome to a new episode of Mole Digs Deeper. My name is Mole, and today I want to take a little bit of a deep dive here about the whole Blizzard situation. Now, at first, I didn't want to report about this at all, not even mentioning it, but then Blizzard was just going digging their hole deeper and deeper and deeper every day, and I think they finally reached a point where I was like, okay, this is getting out of proportion, and just writing about it or mentioning it once on stream is not really doing it. So let's do a podcast about this, shall we? Yeah, let's start. So what happened? Well, Blizzard Entertainment had a tournament, a Hearthstone tournament to be precise, in Asia in preparation for the Grandmaster tournaments, which are happening on the BlizzCon, basically the World Finals, and that was happening on Sunday, October the 6th, and they just had a normal tournament, as always, nothing unusual here. And then by the end, the winner was asked to have an interview with the commentators. This is also highly usual in the whole esports scene, that whenever the winner is done, they're asking him like, hey, how did you do it? How did you feel about it? Like, tell us through this, right? And so they did with this winner in particular. Now, after a few minutes of preparation, the player called Blitzchung came back, and the commentators waiting for him. And what they saw was not his face, but they saw a mask. And the commentators were ducking immediately because they knew exactly what these masks mean, because, well, we're in Asia, and everyone besides, or probably the people in China, have heard about the things which are happening in Hong Kong right now and are very well informed. So the two commentators knew exactly what this mask would mean, and they were just going into hiding because they know that politics are not a topic for the stream. And lo and behold, that Zhang was then talking about the things which are happening in Hong Kong, and was then at the end saying that he is calling for freedom in Hong Kong and that people have to defend it. Now, nothing further happens. The stream ended, and Blizzard took their actions. What they did was they kicked him out from the tournament. They banned him for a year, took away the prize money, also kicked out the two commentators for unknown reason. We will talk about that a little bit later. And then when people asked like, hey, what the heck is that? Why are you doing this? Blizzard did go further. They were posting one tweet where they posted a rule that it is in their sole discretion what they see as a bannable offense and whatnot, but that people should avoid to offend anyone in the world. So basically, do not talk about religions, politics, and so on. Now, you would say, okay, this is a small incident. This is still manageable to a certain degree. But unfortunately, Blizzard did go further. As Blizzard likes to do, they are overreacting to things. As I said, the commentators got fired, which is like, why would you fire the commentators? They didn't know that this is coming. There's the rumor going on that they apparently did know, because when they saw the mask, they immediately did go into hiding and they didn't stop him. The thing is, though, again, they're living in Asia. They know what's going on in Hong Kong. They've seen the pictures every day. So when they see somebody coming up with the mask, a lot of protesters in Hong Kong are using, they knew exactly what will happen here. And they couldn't cut the stream or anything. They couldn't really do much. And keep also in mind, because they are living in an Asian region, they are handling these situations a little bit different there. It's not like they are necessarily like speaking out to the person and are like, hey, what are you doing? What are you trying to do here? Stop that immediately. Especially when they are not like on the highest professional level. The whole way of ducking away is a thing which is quite common in Asia when it comes to political views, because nobody wants to talk about politics, nobody wants to be involved in it because it's a hot topic, right? And people leave the room, people duck away, people pretend as this is not happening. So it's a little bit different here in the West, and I don't really see a reason why they got banned as well. But again, Blizzard was breaking down after this. They were starting to delete messages. They were starting to close down Reddit threads and even a whole subreddit, which was R Blizzard, where people discussing news and games over Blizzard Entertainment. That was closed down for at least 1 or 2 days. And they also tried to delete YouTube comments and so on and so forth. They also deleted the VOD, and they made sure that all the clips on the platform always get deleted. They were in full meltdown mode. And then they vanished. They vanished into thin air. Not a single word was said, but other people had a lot of stuff to say, like their commentators. Some of the big Hearthstone commentator faces already announced they will not be at BlizzCon. They will not support this, and the same goes for employees. They have even pointed out that they are not okay with this, and they basically Blizzard overreacted. Not that Blizzard, here's the big point, and this is what Blizzard just don't understand. It's not about that Blizzard wants to have a political free broadcast, that they want to focus on the games. I can understand that. That is a rule which is totally understandable. They think that's about it, and about that they took away the money from the dude. No, it's about the overreaction which happened basically after this relatively small incident. They could have handled this so much better. They could have just gone there and be like, hey folks, listen up, we had this incident. We are not discussing politics on our channel, so we decided to kick him out of the tournament for now, and we will see how we are going on with this further. He is still receiving his prize money. He might be invited to new tournaments happening after the World Championships, but we have to make clear that we do not want to discuss politics here on our platform. We are politics-free area. That does not mean that we are disagreeing with his views, because, let's be honest here, you cannot disagree with somebody asking for democracy and freedom. Like, you can't. There is no discussion here. They could have handled this so much better, but they didn't. Now, Blizzard was in full silent mode, as I said, and this now changed. On Friday, on October 11th, they released a statement which was apparently written by J. Allen Bragg, the president of Blizzard Entertainment. I will be honest, after reading this, I am pretty sure he has not written this. He has signed it, but he has definitely not written this. This reads a lot like a PR and, most importantly, lawyer drivel. That's how it reads. But let's jump into this, shall we? Let's jump into this. So they're talking about all their values, and one of the core things you would notice in this whole writing is they're also trying to avoid Hong Kong and what is happening in Hong Kong. They're mentioning Hong Kong once, but they are not mentioning a single time what is going on there. And you can't mention that without making a political statement. Like, the facts are there are people on the streets right now which are not happy with the government, and that they want to make sure that they are keeping their rights and their freedom they have possessed for so many years. That is a fact. That is not something which is a political view, that is a fact. And Blizzard tries to avoid this whole topic the whole time, which is already like, oh come on, like, find your spine, Blizzard. Like, this is not like a political view or anything, it's just like, these are the facts. This is what happened there, and they are trying to avoid it. But let's quote them here, because I find that very interesting. How do the value applies in this case? First, our official esports tournament broadcast was used as a platform for a winner of this event to share his views with the world. Yes, I agree that you don't want that. That is something I can side with Blizzard, that they don't necessarily want to have political discussion on the main stage of a tournament. Then again, they're calling it Fuzz, which is a bit like, is that really a view he has? Like, that what is happening in Hong Kong? But doesn't matter. Let's move on. We interview competitors who are at the top of their craft to share how they feel. We want to experience that moment with them. Hearing their excitement is a powerful way to bring us together and sell you more products. Okay, again, I can agree with this statement, jokes aside. This is a tournament and not a political debate, and you made it very clear that you do not want to have a political discussion here. Again, I can totally side with this. Over the weekend, Blitz Chung used his segment to make a statement about the situation in Hong Kong. In violation of rules he acknowledged and understood, and this is why we took action. Yes, again, I can understand that, and I can side with you there, Blizzard. Every voice matters, and we strongly encourage everyone in our community to share their viewpoints in the many places available to express themselves, but definitely not our tournament broadcast. That's, by the way, my add to this after I was done. But again, every voice matters, yeah, as long as they are not in your house, right? It's a bit like redundant when you say that every voice matters, but you are telling people exactly where they have to voice that voice. It's a bit like, okay. Okay, so this is the situation. Again, I can understand Blizzard. I can side even with Blizzard here and say, yeah, you do not want to have like these matters discussed in your broadcast. Totally fine. Second, what is the role of the shoutcasters for these broadcasts? We hire shoutcasters to amplify the excitement of the game, they elevate the watchability, and help esports viewing experience stay focused on tournament and our amazing players. That's random? Why are you starting to explain to people here right now what shoutcasters are? By the way, if you were waiting for further explanation, you can wait for a long time. They are done with this segment. They're done with the shoutcasters. We still don't know why they actually banned the shoutcasters. They will never answer that question. I was like, cool, so you had a murder case, and instead of talking about the murder, you were pointing to what a human being is? It's like, yeah, most people know what a shoutcaster does. And they are definitely not your streaming police. So, what is this? This statement is so random to explain what a shoutcaster does. It's just weird. Third, where are our actions based on the content of the message? Part of thinking globally, leading responsibly, and every voice matters is recognizing that we have players and fans in almost every country in the world. Our goal is to help players connect in areas of communality, like their passion for our games, and create a sense of shared community. The specific views expressed by Blitz Zhang were not a factor in the decision we made. I want to be clear, our relationships in China had no influence in our decisions. Debatable, but okay, let's move on here. We have these rules to keep the focus on the game and on the tournament to the benefit of a global audience. That was the only consideration in these actions we took. So what you were saying is, don't do anything which could piss off anyone around the world, which is hard to do. Especially when you have this clash of basically people which are living for decades in a country where a regime is in power, and they are living basically in a country where that is not the case, and these are just words which will collide. To state that you don't want that is a little bit blindsided here, but okay. You say it again, you don't want to have politics in your video games. Okay. I can understand that. Let's go to the next one. If this had been the opposing viewpoint delivered in the same divisive and deliberate way, we would have felt and acted the same. No, you wouldn't. And I can say that with a certainty because I have seen many Blizzard broadcasts, I have seen many Riot broadcasts, Valve broadcasts, and many other online tournaments. And if there is one thing you very much allowed on stage, no matter which country you were in, and you had players of that country being on the stage, you would allow a relatively big degree of nationalism. Especially in a country like China. So, I don't think you would have reacted in the same way. You would have probably gone to that person and would have said, oh, please don't do that, okay, for the next time, or we have to take some actions, but you wouldn't have not overreacted like you did. Then, of course, you can argue, wow, so you would overreact every time like you overreacted in this case? Oh God. Oh God. That is not good. That is not good at all. So, let's go to the next point. Okay, what could Blizzard have done better, and where do we go from here? I have a huge issue with this particular sentence. First, he starts to talk about Blizzard in a third-person perspective, as he is an outsider looking at the Blizzard company. Okay, what could Blizzard have done better? You're not an outsider. You're the president of this company, if you haven't noticed. But he does that to make it not sound too critical. It's like, yeah, what could the construct, the company, not the people, but the company do better? And then, in the second part of that sentence saying, and where do we go from here? Who is we? This is a serious question. Who is we? Like Blizzard? Blizzard and the community? Like you cannot have like a third-person discussion or a third-person sentence going on, and then in the second half of that whole sentence switching to we. That makes it look like a little bit you mean also like, hey, how can we do better? Oh, and also our community. Like, wording and phrasing of this sentence is very important. He first tries to distance himself from this whole thing and making Blizzard look like just a company construct, which they are, but then in the second part of the sentence trying to invoke a feeling of we can do better, we are family, we are people holding together. And I find that rather trickery. Like, there is some trickery right here. Like the failure thing, he tries to distance himself, and the what can we all do better? He tried to invoke like a feeling of we are working together, we are pulling on one strand here. And it's like, yeah. There's basically like splitting the blame here a bit. But they are saying, over the past few days, many players, casters, esports fans, and employees have expressed concerns about how we determine the penalties. Okay, to call this concerns is like underselling the issue here. People were livid. Big casters who have done Hearthstone casting for 5, 6, 7 years now basically said, hey, we will not do that job for you anymore. Like, this is not just concerns. Like, this is a shit show. And you are understating the issue. But then they also expressed concerns about how we determine the penalties. No. This is what I meant with Blizzard still doesn't get it. This is not about the penalties. It's about like the whole reaction which happened and the chains of reaction which happened from that first reaction. let's continue here. We had a chance to pause. Sorry. Sorry. We had a chance to pause, to listen to our community, and to reflect on what we could have done better. Holy shit, no, you didn't. You didn't have a pause. You took a pause, if at all. What you actually did is you put your heads into the ground and you hope that this whole wave is just swapping over you, and you can then after a few days come back and be like, see, nothing happened. You wanted to see if this is just one of the typical Twitter shitstorms where after 1 or 2 days nobody is remembering jack shit anymore and you can move on. That's what you hoped for. You didn't have a chance to take a pause. Like, what? That's bullshit. In hindsight, our process wasn't adequate and we reacted too quickly. Holy shit, Blizzard. Holy shit. In hindsight? What is this here for you, a joke? Like, you still don't get it, right? You are not doing something in hindsight. When you do something in hindsight, it's something which you don't want to talk about, or which is not really true, but you have to talk about it somehow. There is no hindsight here. You screwed it up. You just outright screwed it up. The process wasn't adequate. Adequate, another nice word to understate that they screwed it up big time. And we reacted too quickly. No, I think you reacted in time. You reacted in a completely normal time frame. The stream ended a few 1 or 2 hours later. There was the statement that you kick him out and you put the penalty on him. And I think you had enough time. The force of that statement was too much. Like, it's not that you were too quickly, it's again what you did. They're continuing with, we want to ensure that we maintain a safe and inclusive environment for all our players and that our rules and process are clear. All of this is in service of another important Blizzard value: play nice, play fair. Yeah, great. Has nothing to do with this whole thing. Like, nobody cares. Like, play nice, play fair. Duh. That is not the topic of this, well, topic. It's another thing they like to put in here and try to basically divert the player into a different direction and be like, hey, this is about fairness. I was like, well, no, this has nothing to do with fairness. There is no fairness here. In the tournament itself, Blitzchung played fair. We now believe he should receive his prizing. We understand that for some this is not about the prize. Finally! And perhaps for others it is disrespectful to even discuss it. That is not our intention. Heh? Like, this whole sentence is a little bit weird because they are finally somewhat acknowledging that this is not about the price. Which is like, took you long enough, but I still don't believe you get it. And perhaps for others it is disrespectful to even discuss it. Why is it disrespectful? Like, but it is, well, not of importance. Because his prize money also got already covered. Like, he didn't even need your money anymore because another company was jumping in there immediately and was like, how much is Blizzard owning you? Yeah, don't you worry. Yeah, give us your bank account and we're giving you the money. No issues here at all. Like, this is just a nice gesture. Nothing else. It's like, hey, we gave him the money, right? It's all about the money. Money is important. Yeah, you still don't get it. You really still don't get it. It's not about the freaking money. Especially where he got his money. From a different company, but he got the money, so he doesn't care. Like, it was never about the prize money you took away. That Blizzard still believes that this is one of the vocal points and one of the points they could rectify, and which were a huge issue, just shows that Blizzard really doesn't get the whole problem. And then they're saying this is not our intention. Wait, so what is your intention here? You don't explain that again. Like, this is not our intention. What, to upset people? Well, I don't know. Like, the whole statement reads a bit like, yeah, screw you. And, by the way, if you felt offended when we told you to F off, that was not our intention. It's like, yeah, that's not how it works. Like, you cannot tell me really if I feel offended about this or I think this is disrespectful or anything or not. Like, that is not in your sole discretion. That is not your decision to make. Now, let's go on. But playing fair also includes appropriate pre- and post-match conduct, especially when a player accepts recognition for winning in the broadcast. Again, I can understand that. When we think about the suspension, 6 months for Blitzchung is more appropriate, after which time he can compete in Hearthstone Pro Circuit again if he so chooses. There is a consequence for taking the conversation away from the purpose of the event and disrupting or derailing the podcast. With regards to the casters, remember, their purpose is to keep the event focused on the tournament. That didn't happen here, and we are setting their suspension to 6 months as well. Again, Blizzard, they didn't know this was coming. I explained it right at the beginning for so many reasons why this is bullshit. And yeah, again, they don't really get it anyways. Moving forward, we will continue to apply tournament rules to ensure our official broadcast remain focused on the game and are not a platform for divisive social or political views. Okay. First of all, you don't choose if you move forward or not as the person in question here, or in this case, as the company in question here. This is not your choice to make. But okay. They're saying that they want to ensure that official broadcasts remain focused on the game and are not a platform of divisive social or political views. So what you are trying to tell me right now, that Mr. Blitzchung here, who asked for the freedom of Hong Kong and to keep his democratic approach of the place he is living in, is a divisive social or political view? Holy shit. You really don't get it. Like, okay, cool. One of our goals at Blizzard is to make sure that every player, everywhere in the world, regardless of political views, religious beliefs, race, gender, or any other consideration, always feels safe and welcome, both competing in and playing our games. Wow. I know what they are trying to say here, but this reads so differently when you say, yeah, regardless of your political views. I understand what they want to say here, like we do not politics and we don't care what your political views when you play our games. But there's just a few things where I'm like, so what you were telling me is that when you like have a Nazi being in your competition, you are welcoming that person with opening arms? Or any other consideration? There is so much wrong with that statement. Which is like, yeah. You really don't get it. At Blizzard, We are always listening and finding ways to improve. It is part of our culture. No, it isn't. Thank you for your patience with us as we continue to learn. There is nothing to learn here. Nobody has patience with you. Like, see, TLDR of this whole statement is it's a defense statement with no blame taken, no sorry, no acknowledging of the issue, not even knowing what the problem is, because Blizzard believes it is the length of the suspension and the money they took away. As a Blizzard, no, that's not the problem here. The problem for a lot of people is that you basically decided to go with, hey, yeah, the whole thing with Hong Kong wants to keep their democracy, right? And they want to keep their freedom. Yeah, that's a divisive, like, diverse view on what a lot of people see differently, and we also side with these people. And it's like, oh god. It's just, and by the way, this is unfortunately not over, because Blizzard has also an Inven account. If you don't know what Inven is the Chinese Twitter. And the verified Blizzard Chinese Hearthstone account was also putting out a tweet where they are saying, Hearthstone Legends, regarding the incident that occurred during the Hearthstone Asian Pacific competition last weekend, we strongly express our strong indignation and condemnation of what happened. And we firmly oppose any time of dissemination of personal political ideals during any competition. We will, as always, be determined to maintain national dignity. Yeah, it's great when the message from the official Chinese Hearthstone account is very, very different than the rest of the world got, right? And I wonder about that. I wonder. Like, again, for a lot of people, this is not about the prize money. Especially because the dude got his money, but from a different company. Second, it's not necessarily that he got suspended for a year. That doesn't really matter. It's everything else Blizzard did to make it worse. I said it before. I can totally side with Blizzard on the, hey, I don't want to have politics on our main stage. Heck, I have a rule in my channel which is do not talk about politics. Right? Like, I get that. I get that. Because politics mean trouble. Because they have a very diverse view. But I don't think, all things considered, where people are not diverse, especially if you were living in a Western country, is the freedom and the democracy they are living in. I think most people can agree on these views. And the Blizzard basically is saying, hey, yeah, that's open to debate. It's like, I don't think so. And again, this whole letter was probably written by a lawyer, and the PR company was looking over this, and then they just signed it with the president of Blizzard Entertainment. But this is not sincere. There's a lot of, we didn't do anything, but we are also not sorry, but we can do better. Like I said it on Twitter before. This is a typical example of we are in our right, but we are not right situation. That's the point here. Like, yes, these are your rights, your rights of saying you don't want a political view, your rights of saying, hey, I do not want this person to have a political view on my broadcast. But you are not necessarily right on how you reacted to this. And what if you have done afterwards? So, yeah. And we all know why they did this, by the way. BlizzCon is coming up in 3 weeks. And Blizzard wants that this BlizzCon is perfect, especially after last year. They probably will deliver a few new games, 1 or 2 at least. And the last thing they want is that people do not talk about the games, but about what Blizzard did in this tournament. And this is why they have finally released this statement. Didn't help them though. I actually believe it made things worse. And I'm very interested to see how Blizzard is managing this. Because, yes, they can control what cosplays people are using. They can control what people are showing with their signs. But what they cannot control is the questions in the Q&A session. There's something they cannot control. Because if the people are getting their microphone and they are starting with an innocent question, and it's like, yeah, so can you tell me what you think about this new gameplay element and also freedom for Hong Kong? And also, what do you think about Hong Kong situation? There will be a lot of awkward moments going on at that BlizzCon. And I wonder if there will be any Q&As. I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually killing the Q&As this year. Yeah. So we will see how that goes. But in my opinion at least, Blizzard hasn't washed their hands clean from the whole incident. They haven't even acknowledged the issue. They don't even know what the issue is. As I said, they probably believe it's about the harsh punishment that he lost his money and that he was not allowed to play for a year. As I said, they haven't even grasped the situation here. And when you have somebody who is not even grasping the situation and what the issue is, then this whole discussion is completely and utterly useless. With that said, thank you so much for watching, or for listening in this case. And if you want to stop by my channel, I'm streaming on mixer.com/chaosball, and we are streaming from Monday to Friday, starting at 8 AM EDT. Till then, have a good one, folks.